following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
This is the Monty Whitfield's Art Show. This is the very, very first of these shows, hopefully in a long line to come. Today's guest is Ken Gidge, and I really want to thank Ken for coming in. Thank you, Ken.
No, and by the way, I'm an artist. You're an artist.
Yes.
I'm doing a show. You obviously we were going to trade artists, etc. But I want to just thank you. It's an honor being your first guest. It really, truly is.
Well, thank you.
And I'm really excited about your show.
Well, I'm very excited too. And as I was going through your bio, it's amazing. It's almost like when I read the John Huston autobiography. It's just fascinating. It goes from one fascinating thing to another.
I like this guy.
I just needed to get some of my background in, because since this is the first show. In terms of my art background and the associations I belong to, I'm a juried member of the New Hampshire Artists Association, and I also am a member of the National Watercolor Society, and also I'm connected with the Sharon. So now that we have that out of the way, Ken, one of the things that I find so fascinating going through your bio, or really almost everything, to be honest with you, but one of the first things that I came upon was the connection of you and your father in terms of being inventors.
My father, my uncle Lester Gidge, God rest his soul, he has passed. He's probably one of the most famous unknown inventors in the United States.
Wow.
When NASA wanted to have the machinery designed to build a capsule that would land on the moon, they came to him right here in Nashua. And with his people, they called NASA and said, you better change your schematics somewhat because the thrusters are in the wrong place. Well,
your father said that?
No, that was my uncle. And they thought he was crazy. So they took a look at it. They made him sign a 25-year non-disclosure agreement, obviously. And 2 weeks later, they said they found the mistake. So I do come from a family of inventors. So it's been different conversations. People will have conversations in their house about whatever is happening. Inventing has been our conversation. I have patents, and I've had products marketed nationally and
internationally. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And then I also noticed that the art connection, that you studied art in acting and art, which you're currently doing both, studying acting and art in Boston.
Yeah, that was an interesting time. I was going to a junior college, and I was going to get all D's and an F. And I said, listen, if you give me a D in economics, I will leave you. So they gave me a D, and about 2 weeks later, I had signed up for a course, a nighttime course at the Art Institute, and also...
Oh, excuse me, that was at the New Hampshire Art Institute?
No, Art Institute in Boston.
Oh, that's the biggie.
That's
the one that's hard to get into. You got to show your portfolio and all that.
Oh, well, in those days it was a little easier because they let me in. And I also took up acting, Stage 1 Drama Workshop, and I was in 2 movies.
Which 2 movies?
Jack Lemmon and
which Jack
Sandy
Lemmon
Dennis.
film?
This was The Out-of-Towners. This was the first Out-of-Towners.
I love that movie.
Yeah, well, I can tell you a lot about that. And also, Tell Me That You Love Me, Junie Moon, which as an extra, I didn't get in my car, got into it. So it's complicated.
Yeah.
My life has been interesting.
But, I mean, you go from grandfather connection with NASA, you were in one of my favorite films, The Out-of-Towners with Jack Lemmon, and it goes on and on and on. As you'd mentioned, then another thing that I find fascinating is that you came up, because folks do steal inventions, unfortunately, you came up with a committee called the National Inventors Award Committee to honor inventors and inventions, and you hosted when Vice President George H. Bush, I assume,
correct.
And his lovely wife, to come to Nashua for that event. And then the mayor of Nashua at the time was Mo Ariel, a little bit before my time. Can you tell me a little bit about that? That's fascinating also.
I'm going to tell you something that I guess I can tell the story. Having been an inventor and have seen how inventors were treated, how poorly, I founded a fictional award, but it wasn't an award, it was the National Inventors Award Committee.
Okay.
It didn't exist. So I had a friend in Washington, we used his address and this address, and Bush was coming to Nashua anyway for the 50th industrial something or other, New Hampshire Industrial Machines or whatever, and he was going to be in the high school.
Oh, okay.
So we got a hold of his people, and they said, well, since he's going to be in the high school, he'll do your show. He will, you know,
right.
The National Inventors Award Committee. So Morris Sorrell introduced me. I made a speech and said basically how poorly inventors were treated, and then the vice president got up, and I was shocked. He understood, not only understood, it's like something they were working on.
You're kidding me.
Oh, no. I was very, very surprised.
So were you able to go in league with that because they had already had something?
Well, no. They were, my complaint was of many complaints coming in, but they didn't know that's what I was going to do. So there was no award. I just got the Vice President of the United States so I could give him, not him hell, but give hell to the individuals who were not going to be nice to inventors, because there was a lot of media and press there.
Right.
But nobody knew that that didn't really exist.
Oh.
So I could have got arrested.
Oh.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Federal crime.
It's a good thing you weren't arrested, because otherwise you couldn't have made it here today.
That's exactly, yes, I'd be in Leavenworth or someplace. So that's an interesting story. You're the only one I've ever told that story to on air.
That's an exclusive, folks. We already start off with groundbreaking exclusives. Charlie Rose, eat your heart out. Now, the next thing I wanted to get to was art. So now we've done the wonderful background on you, which I'm sure folks didn't know that your grandfather told NASA what to basically do to improve the space module that landed on the moon, and then you met up and you invented something for inventors to make sure that they weren't getting robbed. So aside from that, that's a wonderful start. But what I'm interested in is the art part of your life. Now you have here what you call, well, actually you invented—
Spectral illusion.
Yeah, you invented this, the word spectrum or what?
Spectral illusion.
Okay, can you talk now about your 3D, I'm not sure the exact, Gidge 3D spectral illusions?
Okay.
If that's still current.
That's a tough one. Everybody knows what 3D is.
Right.
I mean, so you go into a movie theater and the screen is a little sort of iffy. You put the glasses on, it becomes 3D. Well, I came up with a process whereby you look at the picture. I'm going to put it up here, and I'm going to hide the green. There's a reason for it. Now, if you are looking at this, you would say, well, that's just a picture. But actually what it is a picture, but when you put glasses on, it comes out at you. And coming out at you is the easy part, but I wanted them to go in. And there are different levels and dimensions of going in. And so it's a new process. Now I wanted the Boston Museum of Science to look at it. So I had a friend who worked there. So they brought 3 pictures into the Boston Museum of Science and showed my work. And they bought 2 paintings, and my work is hanging on their walls in their offices, but not outside. So here I am, a person who has work hanging at the Boston Museum of Science, but in the executive's office.
Wow, wow, that's fantastic. So yeah, that was what I wanted to cover with you in terms of that. Now,
wait a minute. I want you to put on the glasses.
Right.
And I want you to here we go.
Oh,
so the people can see the picture.
Yeah.
I want you to try to tell them what you see.
Right. Well, what I'm looking at now is I'm looking at these areas here, top, bottom, with the red, pink, whatever. they're actually coming out. And this area here is what you were talking about, that you had worked the process. This area is sinking in, and it looks like it sinks in about that much. And then you have little islands of paint, and then you have like mid-grounds, and then your background. I mean, it's really
it's
a
not
fascinating.
something you've seen before.
Personally, no, never. And then this one I love too, because you have almost like a Mayan figure there. And then this area is like your island of paint that's coming out at you, the pink, and then the blue. But the blue is not just in the background. It has texture to it, and it has depth.
That's the
cool part.
That's the process. And by the way, if you're looking at the green, and we are behind a green screen is behind us, this disappears, and what they're doing is they're basically looking through me, and they're looking at the our whatever the stage set is.
Which is an interesting process too.
Green,
if one
you
could
can't.
paint that.
It's hard. If you have artists here and they bring in something green, it's going to go right through.
Oh, this is awesome for the landscape folks. They'll
This should
just be doing backflips.
Well, I think you're going to have a curtain probably.
Yeah.
For that, yeah.
Now I wanted to ask you, with your art. Now we're getting into the art kind of questions that artists ask other artists. Do you look for a particular subject matter when you do your work? I mean, aside from the actual 3D process, is there something you're trying to say, make a statement? Is there a theme that you're bringing out in your art?
Well, I think that's a good question, because when I first started, basically I was just doing circles, and I have multi-circles, and if you saw it, you would go, wow, because it really shoots out. And they were really nice, but I wanted to create something that stood by itself. Like this one basically stands by itself.
Right,
and a person could go into a house, take a look at it, and say, gee, that's interesting. Well, you give them the glasses, and it freaks them out. But the problem is, on TV, they can't see it.
Right.
And the only way I can sell these are people looking at it, like the people at the Boston Museum of Science. They took a look at it and went, oh, okay, until they put the glasses on. They bought 2 pieces.
Which is a good selling area for you. I mean, the folks that go in the office, they see the work.
Yeah, well, that's, we really want it outside there.
Of course.
More people seeing it. But yes, I am trying to get to more of these little people here, which I enjoy. They're sort of well, they're my creations, and I'm going to get more background in it. But I have to. The process is, at the particular time, is I'll call it more like a hammer. So I have to make the process myself. I have to invent things to create it so I can do it a little easier. And I'm not going to give you too much away. That's about all I'm going to tell you about it.
Oh, so you're still inventing the process as you go along.
Every single thing you see is not only brand new for you, but it's brand new, period.
Ah.
So it's hard.
There's the heart of the inventor coming out, however, in art, which I can relate to, because my new line of art, the visionary line with my name on it, is all about experimentation and exploration. And when you do that, when an artist does that, when they paint a painting with no, they're not doing the cookie cutter art, as Pablo Picasso said, right?
Right.
When you're not doing cookie cutter art and you're trying to progress and you're experimenting, sometimes it doesn't come out right. Sometimes it's phenomenal. But the thing is, an artist, like an actor or actress, they say the really good ones make themselves vulnerable. So you're so confident that you're willing to go on the cliff's edge and try something new that is not tried and true. And the cookie cutter art is much easier to do than that. That takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of confidence in your ability. And as an inventor, it takes the ability to fail. And then when you do win, it's like, ah. But then when you do win, it's like you're doing something that nobody else is.
But understand this. There's nobody doing this type of stuff here or this in the world. Nobody. So the process itself is important. And as soon as it breaks, it might happen at the Boston Museum of Science because somebody's been talking to me. They may do something down there. When it breaks, I'm going to show everybody how to do it. And I have a feeling on some of your work, you can work the process in.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It will not be what I do.
Right.
It will be what you do. So if anything, I may not become rich doing this, but I will sort of be the father of it or the uncle of it. So I have a feeling that it's going to go. So it's a little, and it's hard. You're right. It's hard for not only the artist, but it's hard for the people who watch art, watch it grow, to find it, and then to know what it is. Because I've sold paintings and I've tried to buy them back at the same price because it's cheaper for me literally to buy it back than it is to do it again. And we were talking to Richard, who manages the station, and I sold him a piece and I've offered him the same amount back, and he said yes for $300 more. So
isn't that horrible when the collectors buy your work and your paintings are going up in value by leaps and bounds, and now you're in this dilemma of having to buy back your work? That is really an artist's nightmare.
Yeah, it's a nice nightmare. Also, I have been in other. Yeah, that's a real nightmare. Gee.
I guess it's a good problem.
Yeah,
you have a problem.
It's what. Yeah, it's a great problem to have, and but it's interesting that you would say people buy artist work. I was warned to be careful because if some people in New York see this, they might say, well, we'll give you $50,000, $80,000 a year, and what we want is 2 pieces a week.
Okay.
So $80,000 sounds like a lot of money, but if they get 2 pieces a week and then they get it to sell, all of a sudden $80,000 isn't much money.
Right.
Because they got over 100 pieces of art.
And especially in that market.
Yes, so that is also a nice problem to have.
Well, and right, I mean, how horrible to break into metropolitan markets, especially since New York City is seen as one of the premier art areas of the world. Yeah, that's the thing for an artist. If you make a break and you make through a metropolitan market that's well respected, and then all the dominoes fall in the other metropolitan markets. They say, oh, well, since it's sold in New York City or since it's sold in Dallas or San Francisco, it's got to be great.
Well, the Boston Globe has done a story on it, and it was a nice story. It was in the art section, and I told them no one has ever seen this before. So, of course, he can't write that without verifying it. Well, he took it to a 3D artist, and he couldn't figure it out. And then he took it to someone who studies optics.
Excuse me for a second. The 3D artist
couldn't figure how I do this.
Wow.
And then a person who studies optics explained how optics work, but said he couldn't figure it out. He said, but he must have an interesting, and he used the word meandering life. And the 3D artist said, it's not bad for an amateur. Excuse me?
Well, that's just like in the science world, when you try to make a breakthrough and it's not tried and true, that's the hard part. And that's why I give you a lot of credit, because when you're trying something new, you just don't have the same PR as you had with the pieces, from the past per se, that the folks know you for. And that's always the danger of an artist. The danger for an artist is success. Again, horrible danger, right? Not really, but it is a danger. It is a pitfall you can fall into, because the success of, let's say, I do coffee cups, and that becomes successful. I do really funky coffee cups, like nobody does coffee cups. And I paint them. And then all of a sudden, now I have everybody wanting me to paint coffee cups. Well, now, like the Blue Dog.
And you can only charge so much for a coffee cup, no matter.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you've got to do so many coffee cups.
And now you're stuck with that
right.
one subject matter, and
right.
your brain is like spores shooting out in all different directions, wanting to do new stuff, and yet you have this wonderful ball and chain, as we say, of having the
Of
success.
making money with your art.
With this thing, with this cookie cutter thing, but yet you want to do
Right.
all this other
It does become cookie cutter, and when you say cookie cutter, that's really important. And don't misunderstand me. The people like who do all sorts of beautiful work I can't do. I can't do this stuff. Cookie cutter or not, I just can't do it. Watercolor. I mean, I'd be awful. I mean, if you took me out and showed me how to do it and we brought it back here, literally the camera would boo. I can't do what people do, but then they can't do this either.
Well, to see the thing, you're so refreshingly honest, and I think that is a trait of a groundbreaking artist willing to take the risk is, you know, honesty. Believe it or not, honesty is really important for the artist to be with themselves when they do the work. And if you can be honest, that, you know, at least when you're in the creation of the work, that's a very important
I want you to be honest.
feature.
I want you to be honest for a minute. You've seen this one, and we've got another one over there, and if I showed you. But if you were judging, and you went in to a tent, and a person, you took a look at the work, and then you put the glasses on, what would you do? You'd probably let it pass.
Well, actually, I wouldn't, because I'm not like a lot of other folks. Okay.
In other words, I'm going to get a...
Well, what you're going to get from me is the way I am, actually. Very open, and yet I know what I like. So it's kind of open tunnel. And you'll find a lot of judges, and now we can get into a whole thing about judging.
Correct.
Because judges, I remember I took a painting over at the Sharon, and it didn't get into a particular jury thing. And Rick at the time was the fellow, and he took me, like the sage, you know, he said, Monty, you could be Pablo Picasso, you wouldn't have gotten your work in here. He says, they were looking for a particular kind of thing. He says, I like your piece, but it just wasn't our market. And so that's the thing, if you don't take judging personally, and you just, as an artist, stick with it. Keep at it, folks. If you're an artist, I don't care if you're a writer or a basket maker or jewelry.
Keep working.
Keep working at it, because although you may not have had the verification yet, it doesn't mean your art isn't great. It just means that that particular judge didn't like your piece. But don't stop.
Don't stop, but you have to understand where I'm coming from. I can't even get into some of these organizations because this doesn't work.
Oh, it's too new for them.
I can't even get into the organizations. We tried to get one here in Nashville, and they refused. And I said, excuse me. I mean, you know, they think it's like kids stuff. And I'm going to myself, you've never seen it before. This is important stuff, my God.
That's another thing.
Yeah, I know.
That's another thing. When you get into metropolitan markets versus local markets,
right.
If you have a metropolitan market, like let's say Boston, they'll be much more open. Not every gallery, but there'll be a certain clique of galleries that will like that. I think it's called the Artist Handbook or something. And you can check with the gallery and the name of the executive director. That keeps changing all the time, with the curator. And they want different things. Some are going to want conservative art, some are going to want cookie cutter art, and some are going to want the innovative kids at 21 splashing stuff against the wall. But you can be older as long as you're innovative. To me, age is not a contributing factor at all.
Well, I've got a story to tell you. We took this down to Newbury Street, some of the really nicer pieces. And the lady we went in the back, and she looked at it, and she said, I really don't think this is going to work. You ought to take it down here. So the work, one of the pieces of work was out at the counter. And there are people who are walking in and saying, what is it? They're putting on the glasses. They're liking it. The girl at the counter is trying to show people. And the lady's in the back. And I'm going, well, I could go outside and sell this.
Ken, I had the same experience. I went to Newbury Street, won't mention the name of the gallery. I had come from the Cambridge gallery, didn't make it in. I walked into Newburyport Gallery, which is supposed to be a no-no to walk in unannounced. You know,
yeah.
So you got to do it, right? You got to do it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, of course. That's like old school. and cold canvassing. And I got into a gallery. She loved the piece, and she was thinking about it. I got her thinking, at least. And what happened was, then she said, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to need the tax information to prove that you're selling X amount." And once you sell, because I mean, they had canvases selling for 25,000.
Yeah,
so
I
the
know.
accountant.
Yeah,
See, she liked the work.
Yeah.
But that wasn't good enough. The accountant, because it's you're following.
Oh, you can't. It just gets worse. So what is the value of it?
Right.
You know, this half hour's gone by fast. We've got about 3 minutes left.
Wow, we've been zipping.
I got to tell you, I really want to thank you. I'm very, very happy to be your first guest. It's an honor. Of course, you will be on my show, and we do what is called Art Show, Art Sales. You will come on. We'll see your work, and then we're going to have an art show here right in the studio with 3 artists. So I'm asking you, would you like to be one?
I'd love to.
Okay, so
you have so much depth and so much. I'd love to.
And if anybody really wants to get in touch with me, you can go to Facebook and look for Gidge, or go to Gidge World. And if you go to gidgeworld.com, you'll see that it's under construction. And I have an email address, which is kgidge@aol.com, or my telephone number, 603-864-9332. This has been really, really fun. Thank you very much. And if there's any way I can ever help you with your show,
Thank you so much,
Okay.
Ken. I just wanted to mention for the booking side of this show, for those folks who are international, national, regional, or emerging artists, our only bar is great work. And I guess at some point we may have Skype, and I have some international folks and national folks that they can only be contacted in various parts of the world or America through Skype. So that's really exciting. Once Skype opens up, there's a number of folks I want to interview, and they can only be interviewed in that fashion because they're so busy. They are like on the road 6 months out of the year,
Yeah.
Either nationally or worldwide, and all that groovy stuff. So that's a neat thing. So looking forward to that. So again, you can contact us here at I believe it's accessnashua.org. You can go online, and you can go to the Monty Whitfield's art show, and then you can send us an email. And all I ask for you is if you send in a bio, and then I'll give you the specific information after that. And we would love to have you. The only qualifier is international, national artist, regional, emerging artist. The main thing we ask for is high quality work, and Ken obviously
original,
has that.
obviously.
Yes, and this is original.
Well,
and you're just a wonderful guest. I'm so glad you brought NASA in, because I'm such a science buff.
Well, again, thank you. Thank you. I do appreciate it.
Okay, Ken.
All right.
Thanks.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.